guys, welcome back. Right, this is my V12 Aston Martin. Now I bought this car as a salvage car from a salvage site. It was the cheapest V12 Aston in the country, and in this build series I've been getting it ready to go back on the road. Right, we've kind of done the structural stuff, we've got the panels on, now we're perfecting things. So the last few videos have been trying to just get the panel gaps right and stuff like that. We're now at the point where I want to start smoothing all the panels in. So I'm going to concentrate on the bumper in this episode. So I've just been round and repaired a couple of other little bits. I've done it off camera purely for the fact it's very similar to what I've already done. I don't want to repeat myself. If you want to know how I did this, look at my other videos. You'll kind of get the idea with the bumper, etc. So basically I V'd out the crack, drilled a hole at the end, sanded a good patch around it with some 120s, you can see. Put some fiberglass filler on both sides. Obviously you can't see the underside. I've just put this little spanner in here just to space the wing off a little bit. But yeah, once that's dry, it obviously wants sanding, shaping, a little bit of filler, and that'll be done. And then also same with this. So this is exactly the same. At the bottom, it had 3 cracks in it. I V'd it out again with the belt sander, and obviously keyed the rest of the area with some 120. And then I just put a little bit of filler on both sides. Well, this is the fiberglass filler. And obviously once that's dry, I'll shape it and then fill it. But yeah, that wing's pretty much repaired now. I've also, again, I haven't shown it because you've kind of seen it in the last video, but I've just shaped this because it was a little bit too long. So now it lines up nicely, and I put a little bit of a radius on it, which matches this side. So it actually fits better than Aston Martin ever intended. I've put a little bit more fiberglass on the end of here because it wasn't quite right. I've filled this gap here with fiberglass. Obviously that needs shaping again. That actually has like a PU adhesive in afterwards, so they paint it and then it's got like a thin smear of black, like tiger seal essentially. That's how it should be, believe it or not. I filled a hole here. So I've also added a bit of filler primer to this because this was slightly low compared to the door, and also the gap wasn't quite right here. So I've added a little bit here. Added a bit across the top again because the gap was wrong. It was too big. Yeah, I think whoever cut the wing out the mould just cut it too short. So I'm just building this back up. Obviously I put some tape across the back side to stop it from touching anything, sticking to anything, and then I can just build this profile up so it matches the bonnet. Same as the other side, then I can shape it all afterwards. But this is just giving me a rough idea. Obviously I can put some filler on this once it's dry. But yeah, back of here needs trimming down because it's too thick, it doesn't look right. But I can do that with the belt sander once it's off. The main job at the minute is just to get the outside bit looking good. So while that's drying, I am going to try and smooth this bumper out a little bit. Now this bit was bonded back on and this end has been made out of fiberglass. If you've seen my previous video on the bumper repair, you'll know this was all completely missing, so I've had to make a new one. Obviously the repair is nice and strong but it doesn't look very nice. So I'm going to concentrate on sanding this down, taking the top off, and then I can start smoothing it in with some filler. Right, I'm going to start with a DA sander and some 80 grit paper. Now, obviously I don't want to take too much off with this, but this is just to kind of blot back the initial bond and filler, etc. I've used on the bumper so far. Once I kind of get it leveled off a little bit, I will then use a sanding block because that will ensure it's nice and flat and nice and smooth. Right, so I've just taken the top off, like I said. It's already looking loads better. I'm now going to use a sanding block with some Abranet cloth. Now this is a 120 grit. You don't want to use too coarse of stuff on plastic because it will scratch it, you won't be able to get it out. So we're literally just going to shape it with this. Doing it this way will ensure we don't have any low spots, any high spots, anything like that. If you just use a DA, you'll end up with like a mound. It'll polish the edges off and it will never look 100% flat. So that's why you need a sanding block. Right, as you can see, it's already loads and loads smoother. I've shaped this edge a little bit, which is quite nice. There's no obvious high spots. This bit here has been curved out a little bit. Panel gap's not 100% right here. We just need to basically unbolt this wing and just push it back a little bit, or pull it forward, shall I say, push the bumper back. As you can just see there, it's not quite right. But yeah, overall I'm pretty happy. So I need to degrease this now, panel wipe it, and then I can apply some filler here. So I'm just using standard panel wipe, just cheap stuff, just to get the dust off really, and that will hopefully help the filler stick. Right, so there's not a lot of space here, but I'm going to persevere. So we've got an onion board, and these are used for mixing filler. It's a nice, like, shiny bit of paper. We've got some flexible bumper plastic filler. Never used this product before, but I've used adhesive, and it's really good. So it's a Technique professional product off eBay. It wasn't that expensive. And we're using a metal applicator, nice wide one. So the filler is like a grey colour. I wasn't expecting that. So I'm going to put X amount on here. I need quite a bit, so I might as well mix quite a bit. Now this stuff, you mix a golf ball to a pea. So it's basically 2% hardener. And there we go, all mixed up. So let's put some on. Now I am no pro at this, so don't judge me. Right, I'm going to let that dry, and yeah, once it's dry I'll come back and give it a sand. So this bit of fiberglass has gone off. I'm going to shape this a little bit. Basically we had a bit of a low spot there and I've built it back up. Obviously I'm going to perfect it with filler, but this is just to give it some strength. So once again, sanding block, abranet cloth, 120. I only want to get the shape rough because I will perfect it on the floor. I don't want to risk scratching the door, which is in good condition, as is the bonnet. So just get it somewhere light, so I'm happy, and all the panel gaps can be done afterwards. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to add a little bit more fiberglass here and across here, just to build up a little bit more. But that is loads better, as you can see. Nice and smooth with the door, which is exactly what we want. Right, I've just done a bit of recycling and mixed a little bit of fiberglass on this onion board, which has obviously already gone off. So let's just add a little bit to here. So I want a little bit more here. So don't worry too much about the edges at this stage because you can go back to them. Main thing is getting the height right. So obviously you could do this with filler, but I don't want to rely on a filler. Fiberglass is stronger. So I would rather do it with fiberglass. Right, let that go off, and then once that's blocked down again, that should get rid of all the little low spots, and the rest can just be a final skim of filler. So that's good. Right, this has been about half an hour and it's set. So I'm going to block it again with the 120, get the shape about right, and then that bit's kind of done for now. Right, take my mask off now. Right, that is pretty damn good. Lines up nicely, lines up with the bonnet, lines up with the door really well. So obviously I need to get the panel gap right. So I think what I'm going to do now is just demask it, and then I can use a Sharpie to draw where the gap should be. And then when I take the wing off, I can cut it out easier. I think that's the best approach. So yeah, that's obviously a loose line, but it gives me a good reference. It's about right. So I just need to kind of trim that back a little bit. Not exactly sure how to do it. I don't know if it'd be better to do it on the car, but I risk damaging the door. Might have a go with a Stanley knife. So one Stanley knife, or should I say Black & Decker utility knife. And there we go. Obviously it needs perfecting a little bit, but that isn't bad. And the best thing is it lines up really well, because it was terrible before. It was a really low spot there. So I'm chuffed with that. Right, now the top of the wing here, it's got to line up. Obviously the bonnet's not quite down, but lines up with the end of the bonnet, which you can see here. It goes across here, and then it's got to go to this rubber here. However, the top of the door, as you can see, is flat. It kind of goes this way. So it kind of tapers off, so it starts off going this way. So I need to cut here, and then I need to feather this bit in once it's off with like a sanding block into this bit. So it shouldn't be too hard, that, hopefully. Right, I've just cracked the door open, which means I can just now I'm just trying to match the curve, the radius of the wing. So I've compared it to the other side. And again, that's not bad. Now I do need to take the wing off because it's too thick here, and I'm going to use a belt sander on the back to make it a bit thinner. But we're looking good. Right, this is pretty much, well, it's gone off now. It's been a while. So I'm going to roughly shape it again with the Abranet cloth. This is really good stuff, this. It's full of little holes, so it doesn't block up. It's not like normal sandpaper. And it seems to last a lot longer than normal sandpaper as well. So yeah, let's give it a rough shape. So that is the rough shape. Obviously it needs a little bit more filler down there, but you get the idea. Bloody hell, I'm hot. So I've added another skim of filler on this. It's had about half an hour to dry. I'm now going to rub it back again. So, like I say, I've shaped it a little bit more, block this back a little bit, block this back. I can clearly see some low spots, but just to highlight them, I'm going to use some basic black paint just to highlight the low spots. Give it a bit of a shake, and then just literally like that. Nothing too flash. Let that dry for a minute, and that should hopefully help me. Right, this edge is looking loads better now. So is the top edge, so I'm just going to put a bit more skin here. And hopefully that'll do us. Right, that's the coat. Obviously done the edge as well. I'm going to let it dry. And in the meantime, I'm going to crack on with something else. Right, the wing here doesn't fit properly. I've had to basically offset the holes to make it fit, to get the panel lines right. Now I've measured the other wing, and this reproduction wing is really poor. This is all completely the wrong shape, so that's the issue. It should go in much further, and the holes have been drilled in the wrong place, or the original holes. So rather than worry about it, I've literally elongated the holes, made it fits perfectly. I've just taken it off, put a bit of tape underneath here, and I'm going to build this back up with fiberglass and then shape it so it's bang on. God knows who made these, but they did not do a good job. Like I say, it's 5mm too long, and this bit's wrong. You know, they've got the gap wrong here. It's just terrible, but it's fitting really well now, bar this. So I'm going to crack on. I'm just going to use a bit of 80 grit just to key the surface, really. Right, not the prettiest, but that'll do. I'm gonna, this end here is perfect, so I'll draw a line so it's parallel all the way down, and then just trim off the excess, and then tidy it up with fill afterwards. But it should be pretty strong. You've got to remember it's only really visual, it's not really doing anything, just visual, so neaten it up nicely. Right guys, I'm going to wrap the video up there, I think. Obviously we're not quite finished, but it's going to have to be a two-parter, otherwise it's going to be really, really long. We're getting there with the bumper, we're getting there with this wing, so I'm really pleased. If you haven't already, please show your support by hitting the like button, leaving a comment with what you think, and obviously subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be back next Monday with some more, hopefully guys, so stay tuned and I'll see you next week. Bye bye. So we've got onion butt.